G'day there guys, Marky here, and welcome back to another episode of r/relationship advice. With that said, I want you to sit back, relax, chuck a prawn to the barbie, and let's get right into it. Posted by a deleted account, titled, "Am I the asshole for telling my mother she was being childish over my wife falling asleep half naked in her living room?" Okay, so my wife and I are visiting my mother this week. She and I don't have a good relationship with my mother, but due to some recent stuff going on in our lives, my wife said she wanted to maybe try to mend that relationship, and I agreed and reached out to her, and we scheduled a visit. The first day went pretty well, as did yesterday. Then last night, we were sleeping in the guest room and heard the baby crying, and my wife got up to go get him. So here's what happened. She was wearing a t-shirt and underwear when she got up to take care of the baby, then she took off her shirt to feed the baby, put the baby back down, then she just lied on the floor of the living room and fell asleep without putting her shirt back on. She was essentially just sleepwalking. My mother woke me up this morning and told me that my wife was on the living room floor in just her bottoms and seemed extremely offended that she did that and told me to get her that instant. I woke her up and got her shirt back, and we went back to the room where she got dressed. She was really embarrassed and told my mother she was sorry, but my mother wouldn't let it go and kept going on about how she couldn't believe she did that while we were guests in her house. I told her she was being extremely childish since she had to raise a baby before too, and should know how hectic it can be. This made her very angry and led to a pretty intense argument that ended with us getting our things and leaving. My wife is really embarrassed and feels really bad, and I'm pissed. I get that it was her house we were staying at, but for Christ's sake, my wife just had a baby and has been working her ass off taking care of him. Am I the asshole? Edit. Something I should have mentioned in the post. My wife is autistic, so she can behave in strange manners sometimes. And yes, my mother knows that. Edit 2. To clarify, yeah, we had the baby's cot in the living room, so she just lied down after putting him down. Honestly, not the asshole for this one. I don't know why your mother has such a stick up her ass, but I can kind of grasp that there isn't a good relationship between you guys. Yes, this trip out to stay with her was meant to fix things, but unfortunately this event occurred, which should have been a non-issue, but your mum decided to take things up a notch and cuss both of you guys out. I think I can see why there is a tumultuous relationship between you guys. I think that she is the one with the issue here. She has been a mother, you are correct. She should know what it's like, but yet she still attacks you for God knows why. Not the asshole. In the comments, ToneLock427 says, "Not the asshole, and good on you for sticking up for your wife. Autistic or not, she's exhausted. And you probably are too if you're pulling your weight and doing a fair share of the new baby duties. Obviously it wasn't an intentional offense, and your wife is embarrassed already. Instead of finding a way to help or comfort your wife, she chooses to find malice in it and continue to shame her after an apology." I can only shake my head in disbelief at her and some of the post here's lack of empathy and understanding. I definitely wouldn't waste too much time, energy, or effort on a relationship with someone like that. Good luck with the newborn and finding a better support network. Serial Killer 2012 says, "Boobies are boobies. They sustain life. Not the asshole." I feel like this would be totally understandable given the circumstances. Yes, it's a little awkward, but your wife is literally sleep-deprived and trying to feed a baby. She apologized. That should be enough. Maybe a relationship with your mum isn't meant to be. Not the asshole. What is wrong with your mother? I'm a ma'am and nana, and if I saw any woman, regardless if she's family or not, I would just help her to bed and look after the baby for her. I know how hard it is, especially the early months of no sleep and just numb ahead. Sleeping on a hard floor is pure exhaustion. Your poor wife being made to feel terrible by your mum of all people is horrible. Not the asshole. Your mum is. This is a family member, not a stranger's house, and your mum should have sympathy for how exhausting it is to feed a baby, and then won't accept an apology? No wonder your wife doesn't like her. Operation 009 says, "It sounds to me like Opie's mother never liked his wife and is looking for any reason to berate her. She's exhausted because she's been busting her back to take care of her baby. Don't care. She's childish for sleeping half-dressed." If your mother continues to treat your wife like this, it is time to start limiting contact. Your wife deserves much better treatment from your in-laws than this. And OP replies, yeah, my mum never really seemed to get my wife. The first time they met, my mum was pretty confused by her and even asked me, are you sure you want this? Update. Okay, so 2 months ago, I made a post about how my wife, 8-month-old son, and I were visiting my mother's house when my wife put our son to sleep after feeding him on the first night and was so tired she fell asleep on the floor with her shirt off, which made my mother very unhappy, and I told her that she was being childish and we left. Since then, my mother and I have been able to draw up some sort of truce where things are about where they were before, if not a little worse. However, I know a lot of people were concerned about my wife, and I just wanted to share something that happened today. So my wife's stepsister and her 5-year-old daughter are visiting us right now. Last night, my wife was watching TV in the living room, and our son was in his living room cot, and she fell asleep on the couch with the TV on and the baby asleep. Then she ended up doing the same thing where she woke up in the middle of the night and took her shirt off to feed him, and then fell asleep on the couch without her shirt on. This morning, her niece was the first one downstairs, and she saw my wife and woke her up and was giggling like, "Auntie, you fell asleep without your shirt on," and then picked up her shirt off the ground and gave it back to her. My wife said she felt very embarrassed and mortified at first, but then immediately after she put it back on, my niece quickly moved on to asking about what was for breakfast, and the two of them went into the kitchen to talk and make everyone breakfast. And her niece didn't once mention finding her on the couch without her shirt. My wife told me that it really made her realize just how much of a not big deal the situation with my mother was, and how my mother was just being a baby, and she now feels a lot better about that whole situation that I posted about. It's pretty tragic and hilarious that an effing 5-year-old child handled the situation with more grace and maturity than my grown-ass mother did. Anyway, yeah, that made me really happy, and I wanted to share it since it probably would make a bunch of others who were worried about her happy too. Smiley face. In the comments, Marianne0601 says, "Kids don't create drama where there is none. I have to tell you, I'm 56, and if a woman with a baby fell asleep with no shirt on anywhere in my house, and I found her, I would be thankful she didn't accidentally walk out the door. Babies are exhausting. As long as everyone is safe, that is all that matters." Right? Not even a year old yet. That is so tough on mums and dads. I'd give her a pillow and cover her with a blanket. She'd be my daughter-in-law. After all, family? This, put a blanket on her and make sure no one wakes her up. Like a normal person? You said kids don't create drama where there is none? Clearly you've not met my 3-year-old. This morning she cried for half an hour because she was wearing blue socks. Socks she picked out and put on herself. Have you seen that video of the doorbell cam footage where the mum is with the 3 little kids and one of them starts crying because he wanted to be the one to push the screen door closed? Educational C9875 says, "Is your wife okay? 8 months and still so exhausted that she's passing out naked on living room floors seems a little extreme. I get being tired, babies are exhausted, but I don't remember that level of tired at 8 months with any of my 3. Has she talked to her doctor? With newborns, you wake up every couple of hours, but by 8 months, the baby should be sleeping a good stretch through the night. Does she nap when she can catch up on sleep? Does baby sleep a 4 to 6 hour stretch? Do you get up at night ever? Or can you take the baby for a few hours when you get home so that she can have a nap before bedtime?" OP replies, "We thought the exact same thing, so after that happened, we made sure that she was getting good sleep. I do everything I can around the house, and my father-in-law and stepmother-in-law have been coming by often to help out when I'm at work and to make sure that she can take naps and isn't overly exhausted." I had a similar experience to OP's wife when I was nursing. It was an iron deficiency. I was looking for this comment. Anemia and lack of vitamin D are pretty common problems postpartum, and they absolutely destroy any semblance of motivation and energy. My issue was a second pregnancy and hypothyroidism, then it was postpartum anxiety completely disturbing my sleep. Are you okay now? That must have been overwhelming, on top of parenting, recovery, and just trying to get on from one day to the next. Thank you for asking. I have to admit, 6 years after my second kid was born, my physical and mental health could be better. I'm so grateful to be able to rely on my partner, who is an excellent father to our kids. I'm not at a crisis point like 6 years ago, but being in a crisis for so long, it takes a lot of strength to pull yourself out of it. Our next post is by user Am I the Asshole, Mine or His, titled, Am I the asshole for wanting to move in with my parents and not my husband's, and suggesting putting them in a nursing home? I, 35 female, have owned our home since before marriage, and we have a prenup. In day-to-day life, we refer to it as our home, but my husband, 37 male, has never paid anything towards it and has no legal rights to it. As of this post, our parents are still alive, but my husband and I were both the youngest children, and our parents are all much older. His mum has some dementia, and his dad has some major mobility issues. They can no longer stay in their home. Due to mother-in-law wandering the street recently, adult social services have been involved. He has 2 siblings, one is an addict and is in prison, the other has 4 kids and lives in a 2-bedroom apartment. Neither of his siblings can take them in, so it's us or a nursing home. Both of my parents are older and have recently retired. They live in a major city but can't afford to live there on just retirement. They need to move. My older brother is dead, so it's just me that my parents can rely on. I want to move my parents in with us. They are both easygoing people, and my husband gets along with them well. They also can contribute to the household finances. They wouldn't be a burden on us at all. My husband's parents just live off Social Security and are going into debt because of their medical costs. They would be a major burden on us. We'd have to take care of them and provide for them full time. My husband works much longer hours than I do, so I'd be responsible for them. My in-laws also aren't very appreciative people, and I don't like them. I mentioned that I want to move my parents in with us, and we could use the money we'd save from their financial help to put his parents in a decent home. He was furious. He thinks that we should take his parents in, and my parents can just move somewhere cheaper and manage their own retirement funds fine. I don't think this is reasonable at all. I expressed that he doesn't have the time to look after his medically needy parents, nor can he afford in-home healthcare. He said, as his wife, I should look after his parents out of love for him. I think his response is kind of bullshit, to be honest. I told him under no circumstances will his parents be moving in, and he's welcome to move out and care for them elsewhere. I told him if he decides to stay, I'll respect his decision of not wanting my parents to move in, and I can look into other options for them. Am I the asshole for not being willing to let my in-laws move in, but wanting my own parents to move in? OP has offered the following explanation for why they think they might be the asshole. I told my husband that I want my parents to move into our home, and I want to put his parents into a nursing home. I can see where he thinks I'm the asshole, because my parents have a few options: assisted living or living somewhere cheaper, whereas his parents only have him or a home. Ah yes, a situation like this, a major anxiety of mine. In all realities, I think it would be way too hard for you guys to look after his parents. That would be way too much of a burden on your relationship and your finances. While not a good option at all, I do think the best option for everyone's sanity is that they go to a nursing home. A lot of people are going to have opinions against that, and I say life isn't fair, and sometimes you have to make the choices that suit you best, because if you light yourself on fire for others, you are going to crash and burn. It's just as simple as that. I can understand why the husband doesn't want, your parents moving in and he wants his, but he hasn't put himself in a situation where he can provide that care for his parents, and his parents obviously haven't put themselves in a situation where they can be provided for by their own funds. Obviously, I don't know the full story, I don't know the circumstances surrounding that, and it's unfortunate to make those claims. But that seems to be the reality of the situation. I think him pressuring you and forcing you to agree with his way or the highway is really unfair, and it seems as though this would be a relationship breaker. Still, I'm on your side. I wouldn't want to deal with that. Not the asshole. In the comments, MJKW says, not the asshole. You will carry the burden of doing the majority of the work. By the sounds of it, your in-laws need people with proper medical training to properly take care of them. OP says, I previously worked as a nurse. Now I work from home hospital admin, and that's part of why he expects me to do it, I think. Let me guess. You're going to have to take care of his parents and still be expected to work and bring in income. Correct. He says I can work from home and care for his parents at the same time. Yeah, nah. hard pass. I've worked as an in-home CNA, and let me tell you, with 2 people needing help, mobility issues, and dementia, there is no way you could work from home as well. That's a more than full-time job just caring for them. This would be such a hard pass for me. My wife and I joined our household with her parents because father-in-law had dementia and mother-in-law could no longer take care of him by herself. She still did the hardest stuff, dressing and some of the bathroom, but at times it took all 3 of us. I can't imagine taking care of 2 people. OP's husband has 0 clue, but I understand his sentiment, so not the asshole. Dogs Reading Books says, quote, he said as his wife, I should look after his parents out of love for him. That's misogynistic AF, not the asshole. Oh, I would have put a period on the end of that sentence. I am going to pretend that you didn't say that. I am walking away so you can reconsider exactly what you said and why it is a big red flag. He can retract that statement and try again, work it out in couples counseling, or we can jump straight to divorce and you can get the hell out of my house and figure out your parents completely on your own. Nope, I am not playing the if you love me game. Update. I spoke to my husband for an hour about it. I think that he thought that I would cave, but I'm not. Our marriage is done, and honestly, I'm okay with it. I bring a lot more to the table, and I'm ready to be with someone who is an equal partner. Certain aspects of his culture I admire, but the relentless idea of sacrificing everything so that your parents are comfortable is something that I don't agree with. They've always treated me poorly, and I'm not willing to sacrifice for them. My husband packed some clothes and is going to stay on his friend's couch for a while. I'm going to move my parents in later this month, and I'm going to change the locks and move his stuff out to a storage unit tomorrow. He can't afford a lawyer, so I'll find one to represent us both, and that'll be it. I don't know what he'll do about his parents, and I don't care. He doesn't make enough to pay for their care, so they're probably going to go to the only nursing home in the area that works with Medicare. It is a truly awful place, rampant with abuse and neglect, which does suck for them. But they treated me like shit, so that's life, I guess. Edit Part 2. A lawyer can't represent both of us apparently, and can only mediate us both. Shitty, but whatever. I'll get myself one, and if he can't come up with the money, I'll get whoever's cheapest, I guess. Honestly, yeah, that is life. Life is unfair, I'll say it again. Life doesn't end well for a lot of people. I'm not going to comment any more on the husband situation. I don't want to dig myself a hole that I can't get out of. I'm glad that OP is doing what is best for her, and it seems as though this is the best outcome from a terrible and tragic situation. Anyway, that's where I'm going to end today's episode, guys. I do hope you enjoyed. If you did, let me know what you thought of it down below, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.